Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I am out of town. Carl Jackson got you covered. Make sure you pay attention and learn something. Carl Jackson, take it over.
Thank you, Officer Tatum. Guys, it is a privilege and it's an honor to be behind the microphone of Officer Tatum. I'm glad to join you again today. Thank you, Sean McConnell. That's in my ear. Forgotten Man is out there somewhere. Lou has got my back. I'm not sure who's checking the phones. Is that Zach checking the phones, perhaps? All right, Suzette is on the phones. I appreciate all of you guys. Guys, I got a lot that I want to talk about today. I don't know what it is about when I filled in for Larry Elder and now the Officer Tatum. I get mixed up with the Forgotten Man, and I come up with so many topics in my head. I think he has like this Jedi mind trick where he challenges me like I can handle all the stuff that Larry Elder used to handle, and I come up with all of these topics, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not sure that I'll get to them all, but I'm certainly going to try to, because we've got certainly a lot to cover. A lot is going on in the world. The number to call in to the program is 844-900-7243. That is 844-900-7243. We got some audio clips for you that I'll be playing. I think I'm going to start off talking about what's happening right here in Florida. With Governor Ron DeSantis, with Hurricane Ian, with President Biden, or Joe Biden, President-elect Biden. I'm going to be talking about Kanye West and Candace Owens and the whole White Lives Matter t-shirt. Guys, I got to tell you, I'm a little frustrated. I was going to write a column called White Lives Matter back in the day, and I didn't do it. Now I just want to slap myself around. But I'm glad that they did it because I think it needed to be said. And I understand the argument, all lives matter. I'm going to tell you why this is important. This is very important. I love the way Candace Owens, as a matter of fact, set it up. If you go and read her a column that she had written at the Daily Wire afterwards, very, very, very smart. Kanye West, the same thing. I give that guy props no matter what you think about Kanye West. One thing that the guy does not lack is courage. And I do want to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about, obviously, Tony Bobolinsky. Tony Bobolinsky. No one wants to talk about Tony Bobolinsky. He was on Tucker Carlson the other night. We'll get into that a little bit. And I want to talk to you about Herschel Walker. I want to talk to you about the Senate races. I want to talk to you about Raphael Warnock, because there might be a lot of you out there that are getting kind of iffy. Oh, my God. Herschel Walker isn't an angel. I'm going to talk to you about some things concerning Herschel Walker, but I also want to inform you about some things concerning Raphael Warnock, and not the same old things that you've heard before. I think the choice is very stark in this race, and some of the things that I might have to say may or may not surprise you based upon what I've already said. By the way, you can find me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. Check out my podcast, TheCarlJacksonShow.com, SalemPodcastNetwork.com, wherever you find your podcast. And so I think, again, here's where I would like to start. I want to start with this because Biden made a comment about climate change, and I got to tell you, I just want to be straight up with you. I don't hold back. You guys know that. The guy's a complete and utter joke. He's a complete and utter jerk as well. So he came to Central Florida, and he came to Florida. He was in Southwest Florida, I should say. I'm in Central Florida, but he came to or traveled to Southwest Florida. He surveyed the landscape. You know, he looked over abroad, and then he gave a press conference with Governor Ron DeSantis. They seemed to be working well together. There were headlines where a bunch of lefties were saying, hey, Biden is going to open up his wallet, so on, et cetera. And I'm paraphrasing for DeSantis. These people are a bunch of morons. We're the one that pays taxes to the federal government. It's insane how these people are. But Biden's comment about the climate change shows he's out of step with Florida's hurricane response. And I want to talk about this. Hat tip to the Federalist. Someone there, Sean Fleetwood, wrote a great column that touched on who Joe Biden really is. And I think you guys already know this, but we got to see it right here in Florida. When people are in the midst of a tragedy, a life devastating tragedy. Can you imagine? Just imagine, if you will. Just imagine, if you will. You leave your house. You leave everything that you've worked hard for, a place where perhaps your children grew up. Maybe it's a place where you vacation, if you're so fortunate and blessed. A lot of people in that area of Florida are, to be honest, okay? But you leave that place and you come back and there's nothing. I mean, nothing There's no way you're going to rebuild anytime soon because the place is completely destroyed. Even the infrastructure, completely destroyed. They'll have to work for months to get things back up and going. That's before any building begins to occur. It's absolutely insane. And then you have this guy waltzing into town, and, he takes a look and he gives Governor Ron DeSantis the props that he does deserve, because the media was trying to go after Governor DeSantis big time. It didn't work. Too many people had his back out here. We know the truth out here. The narrative just wasn't working. But Biden comes in and he attributes this stuff to climate change. And again, he reminded the country of what a jerk he really is. So rather than focus on the plights of the suffering people, he brings up climate change. Listen, there's a time and a place for everything, right? There's a time and a place for everything. The Book of Solomon in the Bible teaches us that, right? There's a time and a place for everything. When you're in a zone where people are hurting, where people have lost everything, you know what you do? You just focus on those people. As a leader, you just focus on those people to the best of your ability. You can't empathize with those people, although he did, and he tried to, and I'll get into that. But you sympathize with the people, and you let them know that you're there for them. Now, that he did do, all right? To be fair, that he did do. But he opened his big mouth and he wanted to talk about climate change. I want to set the record straight on climate change because I'm tired of this hoax. I'm tired of this lie. What the left does, they move from crisis, and you guys have heard me say this before. They move from crisis to crisis to crisis, fear-mongering. And what I'm going to do and what I'm going to try to lay out in the show, if you'll allow me and indulge me, I'm going to deal with the wokeness. I'm going to deal with inflation. I'm going to deal with crime. All of this stuff we're going to tie in together because it's all the left has. The left are trying to destroy us. We'll talk about OPEC as well. But this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And again, the left, never let a serious crisis go to waste. You remember that? Never let a serious crisis go to waste. That's what Rahm Emanuel said. Here's what Biden had to say. He said, I think one thing Hurricane Ian has finally ended is the discussion about whether or not there's climate change and we should do something about it, he said. He said this while DeSantis was, as well as other leaders, were standing behind him. He said that DeSantis has recognized this thing called global warming, which couldn't be further from the truth. DeSantis doesn't believe in that. But this guy is just political. It's all he knows how to be. I don't think he knows how to be sympathetic, really. I think he just knows how to play a role. He then compared a small kitchen fire that he had, what was that, back in 2004, to the devastation that he was seeing. Guys, you couldn't find boards everywhere, nails everywhere. Everything was flattened. And he wants to compare a small kitchen fire that he experienced in 2004 to people whose lives are completely devastated. Because he wanted to, I guess, try to relate with them, much like he's down with the Puerto Ricans now. Oh, Jose Biden. It's unbelievable, this guy that represents us in the White House. It's a complete and utter embarrassment. Here's what he had to say, and I quote, I know from experience how much anxiety and fear and concern there are in the people. We didn't lose our whole home, but lightning struck, and we lost an awful lot of it. About 15 years ago. Now, here's the difference. Biden has an insurance policy. He has a son by the name of Hunter Biden that goes around the world or traveled around the world while he was vice president of the United States, making all types of money for him. So you can bet your butt that he has a much nicer kitchen today as a result of that. But we can't be surprised about Biden's insensitivity. That's who this guy is. That's who that guy, this is who he has always been. I told you before, the last time that I was on, this guy is a left-wing radical. He was never Lunchbox Joe. He was never sympathetic. He's always used his power to denigrate those that are smarter and more successful than him. You guys might remember a man by the name of Robert Bork. We now know of Supreme Court justices that are getting borked as a result. You guys may know of a man by the name of Justice Clarence Thomas. This is a guy who is used to denigrating people and doesn't know what it's like to sympathize with people because he's been in Washington far too long and he's never lived in the real world.